Today's WNEM First Alert Evening Weather Extra is brought to you by Bresky Siding. Today's WNEM First Alert Evening.
Good evening. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips here at the First Alert desk. We are going to be talking about our First Alert weather day that we did issue this afternoon. So we're going to break down all the details and make sure that you are in the know on what you can expect coming up on Friday, as we have a low pressure system coming in. We'll also, though, be looking at the holidays because we still have Christmas that's going to occur before our First Alert weather day, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to be traveling or maybe have some plans. So we're going to be talking about that here tonight. So we have a lot to get to. Let's start out, though, first with that First Alert weather day, because that has been issued for Friday. We have this low pressure system coming in. It's got a variety of types of precipitation. So we're going to have in the storm the potential of snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain. That means that all of those possibilities are on the table. But right now the trends show to where we have a better chance of seeing that swath of freezing rain and sleet coming through mid-Michigan. So we're more on the frozen side of this one. But still, when you look at temperatures coming up for that Friday, you'll kind of see why we're stuck in this zone of ice, because we're not necessarily warm, we're not necessarily cold, and then that's where we get kind of caught in the middle, and then that sets us up for the icy weather. So freezing rain, that's what we're going to be watching for going into Friday. This should start into the morning, go into the afternoon. This will be more than just a little bit of a blur in the morning. This is going to be something that we have to watch for multiple hours throughout the day on Friday. So that is going to allow for us to have that accumulating ice, and that is also going to cause some tricky travel and power outages. Now, I'm not going to be focusing tonight on the amounts of icing that we're going to have, because really what I want to focus on is really the impacts, because I know with holiday travel and maybe even a lot of CMU fans going to the bowl game in Detroit, that means travel could be a little bit tricky. So we're going to be watching the conditions for Friday and what that means for you. But first off tonight, we are going to find that it is pretty quiet outside. Here's our Vehicle City Harley-Davidson camera, and not too much happening. Weather is, like I said, nice and quiet. We've been waiting for that cloud cover to roll in. Temperatures have cooled down a little bit. We had those mid-40s today, so we had even more of those big snow piles in the parking lots. Those were melting away, but we are finding that we're still actually above freezing for a lot of us. We're at 32, though, in Standish, and 32 in Houghton Lake. We're at 34 in Alma, 36 for Flint and Saginaw. We have Mount Pleasant at 37, same for Caseville and Port Hope. 34 in Harbor Beach and Port Sanilac, and we are currently at 36 in Cairo. So we are finding mainly we're in the 30s tonight. We're still going to be cooling down even more. I just want to kind of point out when those low temperatures do drop below freezing tonight, just know a couple icy spots are going to be possible because we did have a little bit of that snow melt here. Also looking ahead, I know maybe some folks have some last minute shopping to do tomorrow. I know some people say, I just wait till Christmas Eve and I go. If that's the case, if you're headed out there tomorrow morning on Christmas Eve, you are going to have those conditions that are below freezing into the 20s still, and then we're going to be going into the 30s for the afternoon. It definitely will be cooler than what we had today. It will also be cloudier than what we experienced today. That sunshine was beautiful. I was happy to see that sunset on a lot of our cameras. It has been a while since we've had such a beautiful sunshiny day. So a nice day ahead. Hopefully you were able to take advantage, maybe get a car wash. We had some great car wash weather today, so we are happy to kind of have a nice break. And you'll even see here when we look at our holiday week forecast that we don't have a lot of precipitation here for the next few days. Wednesday, Thursday, dry weather, so people traveling to get to their destinations by the 25th should have no problems getting there when we look at the forecast. But we do have the First Alert weather day for the day after Christmas, so that means that that freezing rain and snow could be slowing down our travelers. So if you're thinking about how you could maybe, if you have the time to not need to travel on Friday, and how Saturday is looking good. We have mostly cloudy skies. We're going to be finding that our conditions do allow for travel. Temperatures will be around 37 degrees. So we are going to be finding those conditions that are fairly favorable to kind of maybe make up for some of that lost time on Friday if you're going to maybe be hoping to hit the roadways but able to reschedule. Now, we do have our First Alert weather day, kind of diving into some of those details. What we are tracking is, again, that freezing rain potential. So mainly going to be watching that for the morning and afternoon. That timeline does kind of bring that out later into the evening. But we are going to be looking at a few hours to where we can pick up on that icing. So we could be looking at potentially more than 1/10 of an inch. Even when we get 1/10 of an inch, that typically makes things very slippery outside. And then when we start to talk 2/10 to 1/4 of an inch, that's really kind of when we do start to have the potential for some power outages. So that's what we're watching for. That's one of the impacts that we have. If you have a gathering maybe on the 26th, have that generator gassed up, maybe just go to be on the safe side so that your holiday goes off without a hitch. But we will find that we have icy roads and slower travel. So just a lot to kind of keep in mind. I know the timing is not ideal being after the holiday, and even some people have to go back to work on the 26th. So that means that that morning commute is going to be a little bit slower for people trying to get back into the office. So and just kind of keep in mind that this is not ideal timing, and that's the reason why we did the first alert weather day, because one, we're looking at weather that's going to impact your normal routine. So for folks who are traveling for the holiday, for people who are doing the normal morning commute, this is going to kind of throw you off a little bit than maybe what you were expecting. So we wanted to get this issued today so that you have some time here to go and make some plans, to where if you're thinking, oh, I need to maybe extend a hotel room, or I'm just going to leave earlier, I have family coming in, I need to let them know. You then have the time to go and make some of those plans and preparations to adjust, so that when this weather comes through, you're not caught off guard and you already have a second kind of plan B in place, so that you're prepared and you're ready to roll with whatever comes our way. So that's what we're mainly wanting to get this first alert weather day out there for you, is that you can start making some plans, some preparations, so that the storm really doesn't throw you off all that much. As I mentioned, when we look at the timeline here, we are going to be finding that in the morning, that's when the freezing rain does start to settle in. So if you are doing the morning commute, I do still anticipate that your drive could be a little bit slippery, but I'm hoping that maybe if you leave early enough that you can get out ahead of the rain, or at least get to your destination before then. But throughout even midday, by lunch, we're still tracking some ice coming through. And then even into the night, that's finally when the forecast turns quiet, because this low pressure system lifts out, and then we'll have some drier weather. So it is kind of the first and middle portions of the day that we'll have to be watching for this icing. But even into the night, we still could have some lingering slick spots, potentially even back roads, dirt roads still could be a little bit slick. So we'll just be kind of watching those conditions on roadways even as we go into the night. Now, I am going to take a quick break. I want to just double check that that hour-by-hour forecast is set and ready to go. So we are going to take a quick 1-minute break, and we are going to be right back. And welcome back. So we are going to be diving right into that hour-by-hour forecast. Here for tonight, we've been waiting for that cloud cover to roll back in, but we did enjoy the sunshine for today. So we will see that we have still a few clouds that come through. So at times it'll be partly to mostly cloudy, but we're looking at some pretty decent cloud coverage by tomorrow morning. We will find that we don't have any precipitation in the Wednesday forecast. So again, if you're doing some holiday shopping, really no worries. Another thing is that a lot of people have Christmas Eve worship and services that they're going to be attending, and the weather will not be getting in the way for you to get to those events. So we are going to be looking at a really nice and easy Christmas Eve for any travel plans that people have, or any outdoor time that people are expecting for tomorrow. As we go into, and I guess I do want to highlight this here because it does kind of show up, but I didn't have a pause point in. So let me add that pause point in. So right around midnight, you can kind of see that we have a little bit of that drizzle that's coming into northern Clinton County and even towards Shiawassee County. So we are going to find that we do have a little bit of nightly drizzle that's going to be possible Wednesday evening. The question is kind of our temperatures and how far north this goes, because this is a very weak kind of nudge in the forecast. So we will find that not everybody is going to be seeing wet weather, but I just want to kind of point that out, since the hour-by-hour forecast is picking up on that drizzle chance, that you may still run into needing those windshield wipers Wednesday night going into Thursday morning. So we could have a little bit of that drizzle that does come through. But once we wake up Thursday morning, you can see it's pretty quiet outside, not too much happening here. We have the cloud cover. And so, of course, watch out for any slick spots for folks who are really getting up bright and early to go and get to any locations, homes that they're going to be traveling to. But overall, throughout the day, not a lot happens. And the other thing that I also want to point out is not a white Christmas this year. So the definition of a white Christmas is having 1 inch of snow on the ground by Christmas morning. So if it's old snow that's already fallen, that would count. If we could pick up some, like 1 inch of snow by about 7 a.m. Christmas morning, that would count. But even if we have snow that comes through in the evening, that's when we would find that it doesn't necessarily count. So we are going to be looking at here on this Thursday for not really a white Christmas to be coming through. And then another thing to kind of keep in mind, excuse me, a little bit of a tickle there, is that we need to watch the system going into our Friday morning. So this is really going to start to kind of pick up with a little bit of pink around 7 a.m. So this is the storm that we have the first alert weather day for. And as I kind of move this along, you will see that it does kind of come in pieces and it is broken. The other thing to kind of keep in mind here is that we do have some snowfall that's going to be coming across kind of that northeast corner of mid-Michigan. So if you are into portions of the Thumb or north of US 10, you have the potential for seeing some snow. Now, I don't want to get too locked into some of the details on the location yet of where that snow and kind of freezing rain line is going to set up, because we can see a few differences there. But we are going to find that we do still have kind of that frozen side of the system kind of setting up here. So it's just something that we need to watch for. Now, I am going to go and take another quick break, grab a glass of water, and then we'll be right back to talk more about that first alert weather day. All right, so we are back and we are going to be talking about travel on our first alert weather day, because we will find that Thursday night, if you're going to be traveling, so we're talking just after Christmas going into the 26th, that we still have decent roadways for much of the overnight hours. So we're giving you the green light there. But we do have some ice, and then that's going to start Friday morning and then even last into the afternoon. So we're quickly going to go from that green light to the red light, as our roadways are going to quickly become a little bit icy and glazing. Now, we all know that ice is unforgiving. It's even worse to drive in than snow. So make sure that you are cautious when you are traveling. Give yourself some extra room to stop, because it is going to be difficult to stop when you're on ice. And also give yourself distance between you and other drivers while you're out on the 26th. Also, just make sure that you're taking it slow. Of course, a lot of these rules you already know, especially with us having some snow recently, but it's always a good reminder to kind of have. So you will need some extra time if you are traveling going into our Friday. Now, we are going to be watching for some of the impacts with this storm to be really the main roadways are going to be slippery. That's kind of the big thing that we are watching for with the ice to come through. Another thing with ice, though, is that it can coat our power lines and can also coat trees. So typically what happens is that ice gets heavy, that branch then starts to fall and crack and because of the weight, and then it falls on power lines, and then we're in the dark. So that's not necessarily what we do want to see in the forecast, but we are going to just keep in mind that we do have the potential for some power outages. Consumers Energy, they sent out a press release. We saw it here in our newsroom. We were talking about it in the news at 5 today, but they do have extra crews in place. They have some plans ready to go to make sure that they are kind of ready to handle the potential for this icing to come through. Of course, if we didn't have any ice, that would be great. A lot of us do not want to deal with this right now, but we do still have that storm coming through, bringing that freezing rain in, so we need to be cautious. So these are just some of the impacts that we are going to be watching for. Again, hazardous travel, power power outages and even some tree damage. So that's why we again issued that first alert weather day, so that you can kind of be prepared. So if you need to travel or if you're having everybody over, you don't want to potentially be in the dark. So just something to watch there on our first alert weather day. Back to tonight, our low temperatures are going to be falling below the freezing mark. We'll be seeing those lows into the low to mid 20s. So we will find that anything that is wet can be a little bit icy tomorrow. So kind of keep that in mind while driving. If you notice something that some melt on the side of the road and that's kind of, well, become a little bit of a trickle across the roadway, you still could run into some slick spots or some icy puddles. So that's just something to monitor while you're driving tomorrow, or even if you're going for a walk or a run outside early in the morning. But we will have temperatures that do fall below freezing, fairly close to seasonal numbers. A few of us, though, might be a touch above that. Now, when we look at our first alert 7-day forecast, we do still have the quiet weather for tomorrow and Thursday. But going into Friday, we have that first alert weather day. Again, we're watching for that freezing rain and snow potential. We'll be determining the center of the low and just some of those forecasting factors. So really, we are watching morning and afternoon on Friday for that icing. And of course, we're going to kind of break down even more of those ice accumulations that are possible and anything that could have changed, because we are anticipating to get a little bit of data here soon. So we'll be monitoring that here during the night. Saturday is a dry day for anybody who wants to maybe just move their travel plans to Saturday. And then even on Sunday, we are going to find that we have rain and snow in the forecast. So the system looking a lot weaker, not very much organized. And it looks like it does start out with some rain showers before becoming snow showers. So we're going to be watching a cold front to come through to be bringing us some lake effect. And that's what we see in Monday and Tuesday, is some lake effect snow showers, even some flurries that are around the area, and also temperatures. That cold air comes in and we'll have highs that'll be into the mid 20s. So that allows for us to talk about lake effect again, but we'll kind of be back to where we were before the holidays. So that warm up not timed out very well if you were hoping for a white Christmas, because it looks like we're going to be going back to the weather that we had previously that brought us snow just after the holidays. So we'll see what 2025, the end of it, has in store. And then we'll be going into the brand new year as that 7-day continues to move on by. But again, make sure you keep an eye to that first alert weather day. Let me pull up our first alert weather app QR code, kind of make this full screen for you. So again, like always, this is free to download. If you already have it, just make sure it's up to date to get the latest weather. I did send a push alert out to it just shortly before 8 o'clock so that you could keep an eye to the conditions and kind of stay on top of our first alert weather day. So always having that there is going to be a great tool to kind of stay in touch here with your first alert weather team, but also monitor the conditions going into Friday. So something to keep in mind there. Now, as we go into the holiday, we will have Matthew. He will be back here tomorrow at 12:45 for another update. So if you want the latest on the first alert weather day details, make sure you come to WNEM.com, the TV5 News app, or also our YouTube and Facebook pages, the WNEM accounts. And then if you are streaming Roku, Fire Stick, Android, and Apple TV, if you have any of those streaming apps, all you got to search is WNEM, download the app, and then on our lives there, you can go and join our lives. So there's a lot of ways to connect with us. So hopefully one of those is where you hang out the most so that you can come and join us here at TV5. Another thing to note also is that we would like to keep an eye on Santa tomorrow night. So I'm hoping that we can do some updates here at the desk to kind of see where he is through all of his travels and make sure that hopefully he makes it to mid-Michigan. So hopefully we can kind of check in with him and even the folks at NORAD to see what they have going on. So there's a lot to watch here for the next couple of hours. But I do appreciate you checking in on that first alert weather day and hanging out with us tonight. And we hope that you have a wonderful night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.